Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel, and that channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. Yes indeed, Fountain Pen Therapy. Another weekly recap, folks. We're now headed into the late month of November. December is quickly approaching. Black Friday is almost behind us, and Christmas is quickly approaching. And so is my golf vacation. I miss it already, and it's just been a month. Having said that, I have a great recap, folks. I have all kinds of things coming in, and I'm so tempted to kind of just show it all to you. But as they say, I've got to pace myself. In fact, one viewer said, "Vincent, don't burn out now. Don't burn out." I won't. Trust me, I won't. So without any further ado, Fountain Pen Therapy presents the weekly recap for November the 23rd, 2025. First segment, what's new in the fountain pen market? And, now we've got that mechanical pencil market as well. So writing instrument market, but you know what? We're still a fountain pen, channel. So let's stick to that, right? Let's be loyal to our roots, as they say. So on the Chinese market, let's take a look. We'll jump to my computer. Not much out there, folks. Not much out there. There is this one interesting offering, however, and typically it looks like it's a trend. I usually prepare for these recaps early in the weekend, start on Friday, and by the time I publish it Sunday morning, and then just a few hours later, a new pen comes out. It's happened to me several times, but having said that, I think this pen, the Twilight Blue MAJOHN P136, resin-coated metal piston fountain pen. Interesting stuff. It's the P136 with with a twist, so to speak. It kind of looks like a P136 that's fully resin, and it kind of looks like a P136 or the TI 136, kind of in between there. Interesting. I've ordered it, and the Twilight Blue so far. It's coming in. It's 58 if you take the regular nib. It's $58.99 Canadian as it shows up here. And there's various vendors, but we're talking about roughly the same price here. If I take it with the hand polished, which is something that I recommend, it really jumps up to $73. And if you take the long knife, it's, 73 goes up to 78. I was tempted to get the long knife just to test it. But if I'm not mistaken, I stuck with the original Moonman, and I think I went with the 1.1 stub, just because I have several of these hand-polished medium nibs, which I recommend, by the way. So I just wanted to, kind of change it up. And I did not want to spend an additional $20 on that long knife. Not yet, anyway. So there you have it on the Chinese pen market. There's not much else. I did want to mention Jet Pens has this. When I was looking through my hunt for mechanical pencils, I stumbled on this company by the name of Sakura Craft Lab Series. These guys make just these absolutely gorgeous writing instruments. I think they're now focused on mechanical pencil systems and roller balls and ballpoints. But take a look at this. Is their #1 series. And they've got from 01, 02, 03, and they've gone up. Take a look at this. If you guys are interested in ballpoints or roller balls, I think this Sakura Craft Lab is something you should take a look at. They have some just absolutely gorgeous writing instruments. I wish they had fountain pens. I don't believe they do. And now there's a new one that just came out, which is the Sakura Craft Lab #10. So they're up to the 10. Take a look at this. I think it's gorgeous, an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous writing instrument. I don't believe it is yet available in the Western market. I think we're talking about the Japanese. I'm hunting for it at a reasonable price, but as soon as I get my hands on it, I will let you guys know. That's on that front. Next, what I have, Casa della Stilografica. Well, our friends, let me just show you here, at Leonardo, never stop putting out pens. I believe that it's in its opening. Yeah, here it is. The Arctic Blast 2025 limited edition is out. But I also noticed that Delta, and there's a 10% discount, Delta's come out with a 2.0 version of their reservoir. As you could see, I think the original reservoir, I have the pen, and I'll show it to you in my revisit of pens, is made out of metal. The reservoir is, whereas here it's made out of, it appears to be made out of resin or plastic. So it kind of lightens up the pen, so to speak. But if anybody's interested, it's brand new, it's out, there you have it. Goulet Pens had these Ferris wheel press new inks. I refuse to buy these Ferris wheel press, even though they're Canadian. I should be encouraging them, and I don't have to pay, duties and even transport, because if it's within Canada, sometimes transportation is included. But I refuse to ink my pens with these garbage bottles. They're pretty. They look like perfume bottles. And they're even prettier now because of their caps. But for the life of me, I can't, I know that Inquiring Minds, I believe his son, on Etsy has made these plastic bases for these bottles so that at least when you ink the pen, you don't have to spill the whole bottle. So that's a good idea. So if you insist on having Ferris wheel, I suggest you get that tool. That is, I believe, on Etsy, sold on Etsy. They also have a bunch of Bennu pens that have come out. Some of them, I know there's even a Christmas pen that's coming out soon. So that's something I wanted to point out. So Bennu is out with a bunch of pens, and so is Ferris Wheel Press, bunch of inks, if that's what you're interested in. Pen Chalet, and this pen is being sold everywhere, really. Conklin 1898. I think it's a beautiful, gorgeous pen. Okay, various colors. I own two in different resins, but for the life of me, that nib is just horrible. I've just had no success with that nib, but I really like this new one. And maybe, given that I'm starting to expand into roller balls as well, I'm very tempted to get this for $124. Given that I love the pen and the way it looks, I might get the roller ball and stay away from the fountain pen. I wish they made pencils. They even have this gorgeous primary manipulation 5.0. I've got to look into whether or not they have the roller ball available in this, because if it is, I might just get it, but stick to the rollerball. Right now, the one I have is the Misto. These different, I have 2 of them, and I just can't get them to write. After a week, they're dry. I've tried everything. So there you have it. So that's it for what I'd like to point out for what's new in the market. Take a few seconds, we'll set up, and we'll see what's new in the Fountain Pen Therapy Studios. Be right back. Okay, so we're back for what's new in the Fountain Pen Therapy Studios. Was as usual, I've got some paper to suggest for you. I've got 4 inks. Is it 3 or 4? No, 4 inks. Kind of standard, old style, and maybe overlooked inks that I did not have in my collection. And I have most of them. And thought that I'd show you and show myself what these inks are all about. Stay tuned for that. And I've got some new pens. And of course, I've got a new mechanical pencil to show you as well. So without any further ado, why don't we start with the paper? I think this is an interesting paper, but you've got to jump on this real quick. Let me go to my overhead camera. It's a shop by the name of Danica58.com. I will put the references in the description below. I believe she also has a shop on Etsy, or at least she did. She now appears to have her own website. All kinds of paper there. I invite you to take a look at. Very efficient. You get them very, very quickly. And what I found on her site was that she had a bunch of Cosmo Airlight paper in loose leaf form. Now, as you know, Cosmic Airlight has been discontinued, but you know what? She has it in A5 and in A4 size. And I bought this, what is it? I think there's 100 or maybe even more. I forget how many there is in here. I think maybe more than that, more than 100. Loose leaf. And you know what? That Cosmo Airlight was always a great paper. And I thought I'd show you what this gives. So why don't we open up the package. And so it comes very well packaged, no damage there, because there's a styrofoam protection, if you will, in addition to this plastic. Okay, let's try not to destroy the paper when I get out. As you can see, got styrofoam blocks on both sides, so it keeps the paper from being damaged while in transit. Take a look at that. Isn't that nice? Now, I don't know where she gets this paper, or I say she. I believe it's a she because she's written to me a couple of times thanking me for my order, but I could be wrong. Okay, here we go. Okay, oh wow, it's well packaged. I'll tell you, here's the paper. Wow, yeah, I think I've ordered 300. This can't be 100. Let me just put a bunch right away in this. This is very good, by the way. You can get this on Etsy. They come with a little stand, like this. They're meant to be like menu, like a menu stand, you know, where you can put your menu for restaurants. I don't use this, but there you have it. It's a nice little tool that you could use with these loose leaves, and it fits perfectly the A5. So there you have it. I mean, I have another one, which is the, let me just show you. This is from Galen Leather. What I find is that you're kind of limited to what you can put in here because it doesn't go further up than this. But you know, if you use those loose leaves, then you can get, but you're going to put a bunch here because you can't put it lower than this. And this is much more expensive, but it's prettier, of course. So there you have it. So that's the paper. Now let's just take a sheet. It's 83 GSM, so it's very thick. Feels like Cosmo Air Light because there's some little bit of texture there. We'll see if it, I know Cosmo Air Light was always one that kind of, if you rubbed your human sweat on the paper, it kind of affected the writing on the spot that you would have touched the paper on. But we'll take a look at that. We'll do some swatching. It's supposed to be very good for inks. And I'm glad I got this paper, given that it's discontinued. So what we'll do is we're going to get rid of all this, set up for the ink swatching, and I'll show you the 4 inks that I want to show you for this week. Be right back. Okay, so here we go. Here are the inks. Blue, red, black, blue, black. Can you guys recognize them? I got to tell you, I didn't even know they existed. It's, in fact, I guess we would call them Pilot, the standard line of inks. These 3 I've got on Amazon. The blue, black, black, and red. I did not find green. I know that Pilot sells cartridges with all kinds of colors. Maybe it exists. Guys, if you guys know if I can get more colors in this type of ink, this standard ink, please let me know, because I'd be interested in getting green, maybe purples and that sort of thing. Not oranges and not yellow, but certainly some of the darker inks. I couldn't find the blue, and I understand there's a difference between blue and blue black. I hope so. So I had to get this at Bleskett, which is a Canadian retail store, online store, I believe. Well, I don't know if they actually have a store in Toronto as well. I think they're in Toronto. And so I had to get this bigger version, and made in Japan. It's almost, I think some of them describe it as the Namiki version, but I'm glad I did, because I got this beautiful bottle that went with it. So so we're gonna, I don't believe that these bottles, what do these bottles look like, just for the fun of it? I didn't open them yet. Okay, they're pretty standard. Yes, it's a small, obviously smaller size, but you know what, blue is always one of my favorite go-to ink colors, so I never have enough. So I'm glad I got this big version here. And I don't know if these are actually maybe Namiki inks, or if these are inks that are sold only in Japan. I don't know what the story is. I would love to know, and I'm sure some of you will write to me and let me know what the story is behind these pens, behind these inks. I mean, you know, the Pilot inks that I know are basically the Eero Shizuku line, but it looks like there's other stuff. So these are the inks. This is the paper, the Cosmo Air Light, and we'll start with some swatching. Let's start with, okay, get rid of that. Let's start with this Pilot Blue. Okay, what a beautiful bottle. Wow, nice color. You know, oh, there's even kind of a, what do they call that for inking? I don't know if you can see that. You know, there's kind of a little reservoir there that facilitates, I think, the inking. Whoops, let me just finish my swatch there. So this is, I guess we have to call it just Pilot. Pilot Blue. Nice blue, kind of a royalish color, but they call it blue. Wow, I'm glad I got this bottle. And it's really only by accident, because let's put blue black next to it so we can see the difference. It's purely by accident, because I couldn't find the same thing on Amazon, the blue black, and I was told, after doing some research, I saw that they did make the blue as opposed to the blue black. You know what? It's a little darker, but it's not significantly darker. What I like, of course, that on this Cosmo Air light, you could start to see right away some very interesting sheening going on here. Yeah, it is darker, but not by much. So this is blue-black. I think it's a lot more blue-black when you write with it than when you swatch it. But we will take a look at it once it's all dried up. So that's blue-black. We're just going to put red in between here. Little bottles. Thought they would be bigger, a little bigger than that, but they're not. The red is kind of a palish red. I would have loved to have a little more darker red, but it is what it is. Whoa, I closed it too quickly. Let me just write. Okay, so this is Pilot. But I see some interesting shading. And then we'll finish off with black. Now, pretty standard colors, but you know, that's okay. Sometimes we need these just standard colors that we can rely on, made by reputable, you know, a reputable company like Pilot. You know you're getting a decent product right off the bat. Unless somebody tells me that these inks, contrary to what I just said, are going to be misbehaving, I think that they are going to behave well just because it's Pilot. Fairly nice black, I've got to tell you. Very, very dark black, which is nice because, mind you, it might turn a little paler once it dries, but we shall see. We'll give it some time to dry. All right, we finished the swatching. There you have it. Let's give it some time to dry, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Drinks have dried up pretty well. I think the black, just a little into red, needs a little more time, but you can see that the inks are, you know, do not feather or anything like that. The light blue has a little bit of sheening there. The blue-black is not as dark on the swatch, but it's much darker. As you can see, the contrast in the writing is a lot more pronounced. The sheening is there in the inks, which I'm glad. And then with the red, what I see is some shading. But I find the red very light, perhaps too light for my taste. But there you have it. Some of you might like that. It's more like it's kind of a light magenta or a dark pink. And the black is really dark. And I like some of that brown sheening that's coming out as the ink dries. So there you have my Pilot inks. I'm glad I got them because you know, they deserve to be in my collection. And I think these are going to be kind of everyday go-to inks that are not complicated and don't mess up your pens. So good choice, Vince. There you have it. That ends the ink swatching segment. Stay tuned for the next part. Okay, so we're back for what we got for you in terms of pens, writing instruments. What's my new haul? Well, of course, you saw my video published during the week, which is on this new Infinigraph or Finigrave pen that has a Kickstarter project. Now, I will revisit this pen in my segment on Pens Revisited, because we're going to take a look at whether or not this pen has any drying issues. I know there's been various versions. People have also seen a similar pen on AliExpress, so there's some questions there. So we're going to revisit this pen, but it is a new pen haul that I received since the last recap. Very nice pen. I've got to tell you, very interesting shape. I wish some of these, Kickstarter projects that introduce these pens, they introduce a beautiful pen, but they don't pay enough attention to the nibs. We'll take a look at this nib and see if it has any dry issues. It wasn't bad when I did the review, but I wish they would have more, more choices and not just concentrate on the body. But I got to tell you, it's an interesting concept. It's a pen that, you can remove these sleeves and replace it with a white color. And they're working on all kinds of other patterns. They have this beautiful stained glass pattern, which I've got to tell you, if the project kicks off, I would be really interested in acquiring those new sleeves to put on this pen. But that's one of the new pens that came into the Fountain Pen Therapy Studios. What else have I got for you? We'll put that aside for now. Oh, yes. My friends at Vazier sent me a new pen. And, Vazier is a company that I like to collaborate with because they're hardworking people. It's an Indian pen maker, who do their best to put out some interesting writing instruments. Different materials are used. Their work on their nibs. And you know what? I always love to encourage them. And from what I can see, they also like to encourage the channel. So I thank them very much. I received this pen, I think, without any prior notice. Once in a while, they surprise me. They send me a new pen for me to review, and I thank them for it. So it comes in this beautiful box, which is kind of leatherette, I guess. I'm not sure if this is. It may even be real leather, probably done in-house. It would not be at all surprising. Let me just open it up. Here we go. It usually comes with a little note. Yeah, Nisha Singhi is the gentleman or the person. I'm assuming it's a he again, but it's a certificate of authentication or to authenticate the purchase. It wishes me congratulations, gives me the date and the nib size. So that's and these pens always come in these little kimonos. I've got a lot of them from them and from others. And here's the pen. I think this pen is an interesting pen. It's the Vazier Checkmate 2.0, and it's very interesting. I'm not going to go any further because I've reviewed this pen, and I'm going to be publishing the review sometime soon, perhaps as early as next week. We shall see. But that came in, and I think that's a very interesting, with a beautiful nib, very interesting pen. So we'll be reviewing this very closely in sometime soon. So that's the new fountain pen that just came in. Now, pencil. This is the new mechanical pencil that I have. It's from Caillou. Is it Caillou or? Yeah, Caillou Plus. It's the AIMVISION. Now, I've already shown you the AIMVISION, one AIMVISION version of this pen, which is this one. It's the AIMVISION 0.5. Just, I mean, folks, take a look at this. You know, with a nice grip. So that's already in my collection. But what they did is they came out with a AIMVISION Pro version. I think it comes in 2 colors. I chose this color here. The box is also a little more premium, if you will. I think it's a magnetic. Can't get the thing to open. Here we go. Very nice box. The design is Japanese, you know. And take a look at this pen. Or this pencil. AIMVISION Pro Caillou Japan. It is just, what I noticed right away is the grip is very, very different from the regular version. That's the regular standard version, and that's the Pro version. I'm going to be reviewing this pen in detail, so I will leave that. But again, very, very pleased with AIMVISION, with these AIMVISION instruments. I think they're just absolutely gorgeous. So there you have it. That's what came in this week, folks. I mean, no, I would be lying to you if I said that, because there's a lot more that came in, but this is all I'm showing you for this week. So there you have it, and we'll do some writing very shortly in the next segments. So that, I think, completes what's new in the Fountain Pen Therapy Studios. Stay tuned for my next segment. I'm back for what's new. I forgot all about this one. I should have added it to my what's new in terms of a pen haul. It's something you've seen before. This is the MAJOHN or Moonman A3. Again, a vanishing point sort of imitation, although I find the imitation done very, very well. It has MAJOHN written all of it. It's a pen that you've seen before. This is nothing novel, but I did not have it in my collection. Unlike the others, it's kind of meant to be kind of a silent, so there's no click, if you will. I got to tell you that this is really caught me by surprise, and we're going to do some writing later on with it. The reason why I got this finally, one, I wanted it in my collection, but more importantly, I think, is that I'm working on a video about, kind of retractable pens in my collection, to do a kind of a review of every one that I have. So I've ordered quite a few in the last several weeks to complete my collection so that I can present to you a video. And I realized that this one and several others were missing. So I did get this week, and forgot to mention it. Beautiful pen, but we're going to revisit. I'm not going to do a separate review on this. So we're going to show how this pen writes and why I think I'm in love with it in my Pens Revisited section. We'll be right back. Okay, so we're back with these Pens Revisited section. By the way, the ink, and we're going to see how this Cosmo Airlight paper performs with actual writing. In terms of the swatches, it is a thicker paper, so it is 80 GSM. The only one that penetrated really is a little bit of the black and that red. As light as that red is always a pesky sort of an ink, isn't it? I also find that it's red inks are the ones that destroyed my nibs a little more. They crust up for some reason. There's got to be something. There's got to be an explanation for that. But there you have it. But in terms of the writing, there's hardly any ghosting. But we'll take a closer look with when I do some writing with the pens that I wanted to revisit for you this week. So what have I got on the revisit list? Well, let's do this one at a time. First of all, let's start with some of the disappointments, if you will, and if I could find it. Yeah, here it is. The Gravitas. I really am not enjoying the slippery section on this aluminum version. Maybe it's better on the titanium. I love the pen. I love the way it writes, and I love the shape of it and the filling mechanism. I'm waiting just to see if he comes up with an all Ultem version or a carbon fiber version. We shall see. They've come up with 3 additional titanium versions, but I'm not going to jump on the titanium because I fear that it's just going to be just as slippery. But what I did notice, to my great chagrin, is there's some leaking. I don't know if you could see it, but there's like leak of ink for some reason. Now, is it burping? Is it just normal? I mean, it's not overly, we're not talking about a lot, but there's some ink that kind of, you can see it. And then, of course, when you go and write with the pen, you get ink all over your fingers, which is unfortunate. I don't know what's causing that, but maybe some of you can enlighten me, which contrasts with, I paid that, almost $500. It contrasts with these 2 pens, which are the MAJOHN P141 and the AIMVISION V800. Now, these, I didn't write with the Gravitas because I didn't want to ink up my fingers, but I'm going to do some writing with these 2 again. And I know that I've kind of revisited them for a while, but I just love these pens. By the way, you could see that I've put in my P141, my AIMVISION 1.1, and I put my AIMVISION and my MAJOHN sun nib in my V800, and there's no leaks, especially this one, because this one, it didn't screw in perfectly. It just kind of screwed in and then it kind of just sits there, and I felt that it would leak, but so far, at least, I don't see any leaks. So this is the, I guess we have to say what it is. It's the MAJOHN, wow, P, and I said 141, again, I make a mistake, it's the P140, but with a AIMVISION 1.1 stub. Just really nice. So that's the first revisit. And again, the V800 with the sun nib, no leaking anywhere. At least that's my experience. So this is the AIMVISION V800, but with the number 8 sun MAJOHN nib. I mean, I'm going to put their nibs, respective nibs, back because this was meant just for one of my videos. But now that we've done the experiment, I think it's time for them to go back home, so to speak. But there you have it. Very, very nice. So I did want to mention that. I did also promise you that I would revisit this Infinigrav. Let's just see if the nib dried, because there was, in a previous version of this pen, there was dry nib issues, and this pen is a new and improved version. They've done several improvements on it, and that may explain why you've seen other versions of this pen, or some of you commented that there are other versions out there. I did mention it in my video, and this is, so let's just see if it still writes. Yeah. Well, it hasn't dried, and it's been more than a week. I mean, the nib is a fine nib to begin with, so it's not an overly wet nib. And on this paper, I can sense it's Cosmo Air Light because it's giving me a lot more feedback than it would on a Tomoe River paper or even a Rhodia paper, which is even more slippery. I can feel the friction on this paper. So for those of you who like feedback, Cosmo Air Light is perfect. So there you have it. It's an interesting pen. Now, there is a version of this pen or a lookalike on AliExpress. Let me just show it to you. Just bear with me a second. My computer is... where is it? Yeah, they call it the, it's a real lookalike. I mean, they call it the Dieman DM15. I don't know what this is all about. Is this the previous version that was out and that has been improved? They did a lot of development on the pen, and that's explains the Kickstarter project. I've written to the people that approached me to collaborate with them for that video and asked them twice now that they explain to me what this is all about and whether or not this is indeed the previous version, because I thought the previous version was referred to as the Gravity Mobilis or something like that. This one appears to have a different name. So I've asked for some explanations, and if and when I receive them, I will let you know. And we'll see how fast they get back to me. So I did want to mention that. Now let's get back to my Pens Revisited. What else have I got for you? Oh yes, these are just four of the pens that I had currently inked last week. The theme being the titanium pens. And I wanted to mention, I'm not going to go over them again. That would be repetition, but I love these pens. But I've got to tell you that I'm more and more falling in love with this one. This is an absolute beauty. I got to tell you. Yes, I know it's inspired, but it's got that gorgeous gold trimming that I think is fascinating. It's a piston filler. It's got an ink window, and it's got that beautiful lemon handmade or hand-polished medium nib that's got just a little bit of an architect grind there. Really, really nice. So this is the pen that kind of kept me busy all week, I would say to you. So this is the MAJOHN P137. And this, they have now, I think, two clip designs. P137 with lemon medium nib, the hand polished one, and wow, let me just tell you, this pen is a workhorse, and that nib is, I can't stop recommending it. If you haven't figured it out by now that it's amongst my favorite nibs, then you never will, because it finds itself in some of these other pens as well, or in this other pen anyway. When I say this, I mean this one. I did like the Ongdian as well. The Ongdian did well because it's a little bit thinner. Maybe it doesn't give me the same amount of joy writing with. I don't know if there's still ink in here. Yeah. I mean, no complaints. And these pens just never dry. So this is the Ongdian T1, I believe. Very nice. It's got a thinner line because it's just a medium, I believe. Yeah, it's a medium nib. But it's got that Ongdian standard. It's not the new springy type, but the older version, if you will. So it's a little bit stiffer, but it's still Ongdian, and I love this pen. Very, very nice. So that's the T1, as they call it. There you go. So those are my comments for the pens that I used last week. Now, let me just show you. Oh, by the way, while we're at it, let's just see how this paper. Yeah, you see, very little ghosting, almost none to speak of. Let's put that back in, and I'll show you some of the other pens that I did want to revisit with you. I mentioned this MAJOHN A3. Let me tell you, folks, this pen has blown me away, and I'm glad I got it. You know what's peculiar about it is that it's kind of very heavy here, but because of that, it sits really nice there. And I don't know, I like the balance, and it's thicker and juicier than some of the other retractable pens that I have. And the nib, let me just make sure, we'll see how it writes. So this is the, MAJOHN A3, all black, because it comes in different colors, and it's the fine nib. Just really, really nice. I'm glad I got it. And shortly, when I complete my video, well, first I've got to complete my purchases. I've got a couple of pens still coming in. But we're going to do a comparison. But I can tell you that this is going to play a major role in my favorites. So far, very nice. I like the way it looks. I like the way MAJOHN is written there. I like this clip design being further up. I don't know how functional that clip is. It's so stiff. I think it's more decorative than anything else. That it's got this click. Why not? But very nice nib. And I know that Chinese Pens, or Bobby on Etsy, does pens, does do nibs. And I've got it on one of my other, do I have it here? Not too far. Yes, I do. On this MAJOHN, I think this is the A1, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if you can see the difference, but he's got this medium stub on it, which writes just beautifully. Check that out. That may be of interest to you. Etsy, the storefront is Chinese Pen altogether, and it's what used to be known as Bobby or Bobby Pens or something like that. A little expensive. I think the nib ends up costing you more than the pen, which is unfortunate. But if stay tuned for my video. I'm going to do a detailed look at all those, and that after that you may want to take a look at that if you like retractable pens. Well, what else have I got for you? Oh yes, I did want to revisit my gorgeous scribble. I write with this pen constantly because I got to return it if I don't buy it, and I'm not sure I'm going to buy it. It's expensive. I've been offered, by the way, a generous discount, by Luca, but we shall see. We shall see. The verdict is still out for me anyway. So this is the Scribo Flow with the fine flex nib. And folks, it just writes and writes and writes and writes. Left it for a week, picked it up in preparation for this video. I just wanted to see whether it wrote. And you know what? What you see is what I saw. It never stops writing until the ink is gone. So you know what, folks? It's tempting me. I'm keeping it well preserved in this leather sleeve so it doesn't get ruined, because if I do need to return it, I want to make sure that it's in good condition. So there you have it. That's my Scribo. Is close to my heart, as they say. Now, the AIMVISION. Look at this. Isn't that gorgeous? And we'll go through all the details of this mechanical pencil, but I think it is absolutely stunning. I wish they made fountain pens this way. So this is the, what is it, Caillou? Yeah, Caillou Plus. I wanted to see how these pencil's right on this Cosmo light. Caillou plus AIMVISION Pro. Well, you know what? It's a lot less friction than I would have anticipated. It's kind of slippery, actually, with the pencil. So that's curious. I was expecting it to have some interesting, because I know if you saw my last video, what I said is that I've chosen paper that has more of a gritty feel to it for the pencils. I find that it's just more interesting to write. Otherwise, they kind of just slip, and a little bit too slippery for me. And that's what I'm noticing here, is that I don't feel the same friction and feedback that I feel on a when I write with a fountain pen. Curious. I really thought that Cosmo Airwrite would be another option for me for my pencils, but the verdict's still out on that. So there you have it. Beautiful, beautiful pencil, and we shall review it in greater detail. Now, I did want to mention to you, some people are not interested in mechanical pencils, and that's okay. I don't want to distract anybody, and I don't want anybody to be forced to see what they don't like. On my recaps, I'm going to have, and I've been having it, but with a little more detail, I'll take a look at probably one mechanical pencil, in every recap, because folks, I've bought like over 30 of them, so I've got plenty of material for the next 30 weeks. And I will do videos as well. But so on the recap, maybe I'll identify the mechanical pencil so that if anybody's not interested, they can skip over, look at the timestamp. So that's what I think I'm going to do, is that I'm going to identify when I deal with the pencil. So I don't want to offend anybody, and if they're not interested, they can just skip over it. And of course, if there's an independent review on any of these pencils, well, you just don't have to look at it, right? You just don't have to take a look at the review if that's not your interest. But I did want to mention why I'm going there. And yes, it is a rabbit hole, I can tell you, because these things don't cost a lot. But I think the main reason why all of a sudden these things are attracting me is it's bringing me back to my childhood, where I had some of these mechanical pencils as my everyday writers at school. And maybe that's where it's all coming back to me. And I have fond memories of both elementary school and high school. I mean, I came from Italy when I was 6 years old. I had done my first grade in Italy, in Rome, and we immigrated to this country, and I was thrown, and we immigrated. So I had finished my first year. I'd started grade 2, then left the country in December, so halfway through my second year, and landed in Canada almost 2 days before Christmas, December 23rd, I believe 1963. And with the help of one of my family members, they managed to enroll me in school. So I started school in January. I mean, I did not speak any English. And I went to English school here in Quebec. And I was Italian. With no help at all, I managed to get through my second grade and passed my second grade. And within weeks and months, I learned English, believe it or not, with the help of my cousins who had already immigrated here and were helping me. So fond memories. And of course, we use these mechanical pencils. In high school, I was a geometry fanatic. I did very well in geometry. In fact, I was planning perhaps an engineering degree as opposed to a law degree, but chose law. So these things, I think that's one of the reasons. The second reason, of course, is that they are so intriguing. I mean, the design of these pencils are just beautiful. And the price. I mean, you can get these things you can get 3 or 4 for the price of one Chinese pen. And they have a variety of features. And lastly is the writing experience. I've rediscovered the pencil. So there you have it. That's just, I thought I'd share that with you. And I have one more item to deal with, and that I promised one of the viewers which nibs fit which pens, and is there a way to figure it all out? He or she is a beginner. Well, what I would say to that beginner, let me just, that's a complicated question. But first of all, you have your three major players, which are your Yowo nibs, your Bach nibs, and your Schmidt nibs. Those are interchangeable from pen to pen, provided that they have the same nib section. Okay. As to the rest, contrary to many people, I've put Yowo nibs in Bach sections, and I've put Bach nibs in Yowo sections. It's you experiment. You have to experiment. You have to start learning, and I suggest you learn with the Chinese pens because they're not expensive. Start pulling out the feeds, look at the feeds, insert, take them out, put them back in, test them, have fun with them. That's part of the whole fun. And then you'll figure it out. Because for me to be able to explain all that to you, it would take just hours and hours and hours. But that's why I try to deal with, replacement nibs or interchangeability of nibs as we go along. But it's not something that has a 5-minute answer. But if you deal with your mainstream, Bach, Schmidt, and Yowo, well then, you can change the nibs as you want within the same brand, go from fine, medium, etc. And from pen to pen, you can switch them out, of course. But, do Hongdian nibs fit into nib-sectioned nibs with Bach and Yowo? That's something you have to experiment, unfortunately. So that's my answer to that viewer. That's it for Pens Revisited. Let's take a look at what my currently ink are going to be for next week. And I can tell you, at this point, I've yet to decide. Be right back. Okay, so we're back for what are my weapons for next week. And I was thinking, what pens should I ink up for next week with the theme? And sometimes the obvious escapes us. I've got some Pilot inks, so why not ink up a bunch of my Pilot pens? Been some time I haven't used a lot of them, most of them, in fact, with the exception of one. And I've got, a new writing mechanical pencil as well. So without any further ado, let's take a look at some of the Pilot pens I've got for you. We'll switch to the overhead camera. Okay, let's start with some of the least expensive Pilots that I have. This is a Pilot Plumix. I always like these pens because they have a nice kind of stubby steel nib. This is a Pilot Plumix. And this one's got is it a medium? No, it's got a broad stub. And you see the green ink? That green ink is in fact from a cartridge, a Pilot cartridge. So, and it's a nice, I like this green. So if anybody knows if I can buy that in a bottle, I'd appreciate it. Okay, so there you have it, Pilot Plumix. The next is the classic Pilot Prera, one of the first pens I've ever bought. Now, some of these cheaper pens have a tendency to dry up on us, so bear with me if they do not write. Yeah, this is a fine. And this is the type of nib that I would use in my agenda where I have to very small writing or marking up revisions on a document. So there you have it. We of course can't go wrong we can go wrong, but we can't skip the Pilot Metropolitan, although these things have just a horrible reputation for drying up, at least in my case. There you go. I just inked this thing. Pilot Metropolitan. don't know what happened there. The nib is sticky. Too bad. Just a garbage pen. It's just, looks really nice, not expensive, but you can't write with it. It just doesn't work. Let's see if this thing works. This is another one where it dries up on you, and it's also got this bad converters, those kind of squeeze converters, which are just not very good. Let's see if it writes. This is, here you go. It just doesn't want to write. Well, I tried. It's coming out slowly. It's too bad because it's got a very nice, here we go. What is it, 74G, I believe it is. And it's got this huge double broad stub, which when it writes, and now it's not writing, just awful. Too bad. Maybe I chose the wrong theme. But the good ones are coming, folks. The good ones are coming. It's going to get better. Kekuno. I think these things are probably the best of the cheap versions of Pilot. I hope, well, even this one is not cooperating with me. Pilot, Kekuno. Again, a fine nib. When it writes, it writes. Okay, well, we got some decisions to make to see if we're going to take some out. Then there's this one. This is my, whoop, just inked it, so sorry about that. It still has some ink on it. It's still there. Okay. Oh, wow. I don't know what's going on here, but okay, did my best. This is my vanishing point with my 14 carats. So this is the Pilot. What I like about this is that it has a stub nib, Pilot vanishing point with a 14 carat and a very soft stub. Again, major issue is drying with these vanishing points, at least mine anyway. And as you'll see in my comparison video that's coming up, you'll be very surprised as to other much cheaper pens that compete with this thing. But there you have it, the vanishing point, classic. Now we're getting to the good ones. So let me just switch up paper here. Now, these are my gems. And we'll try to do this in the order of price, I guess. Although this one I'm not sure where it stands, but I believe it's in the next series. It's the one of the cheapest anyway. This is that Falcon Pilot. The fun thing is that I haven't written with this pen in months. Very nice. I mean, it takes some getting used to because it really is meant to have that springy flex kind of a feel. I'm not sure that it's my favorite Pilot, but the next one is a Pilot 74, is it? Custom 74, yeah. Oh, this is the one that has that nice music nib, yeah. So this is the Pilot. Look at this. When you compare that to those steeled cheap versions, Pilot 74 with a 14 carat, whoops, music nib. Just beautiful. Now this is a writer. It's singing. After all, it's a music nib and it's singing on me on this paper. Anyway, it is. This Cosmo Air Light is kind of a weird writing experience. Not the greatest, I got to tell you. Next, Pilot Custom. This is a 742 with the Falcon Flex nib, or the Flex FA nib, not the Falcon, the FA nib. Let's see, I haven't written with this in a while. Yeah, look at this. Pilot 742 with 14K FA nib. And I replaced the feed with a feed that's specially made for this nib by, is it Nib Factory, I believe it is, or FP Nibs, I forget, but it's an ebonite feed, so it can keep up. And unlike the other ones we've just seen, I haven't inked these things. I haven't played around with them for months. This is that was the 742. This is the 743 with the FA nib. Just a slightly bigger nib. And surprisingly enough, the 742 has more flex than the 14K FA nib on, do they call it the FA? Yeah, FA nib. On the 743, there's less flex. Much thicker line on this 742. And this is well documented, just not my pens. And then, of course, what people would term as, if you have to have one pen, this is it. 823. Now, I hope the second chamber is open because you got to keep it open. It is a little open, so hopefully it's going to write. And this is the stub. Is it a stub or a broad? No, it's a broad. Pilot Custom, and this is all custom, by the way. Pilot A23 with a 14-carat broad nib. Now, what I do want to add, well, let me finish this first. But this is just a beautiful pen. So you know what? At the end of the day, I may just bring in these gold nib ones. I don't want to be elitist, but there's a big difference between the Pilot gold nib pens, which are just almost to perfection, and those steel garbage nibs. I got to tell you, I mean, I showed them to you because I wanted to show them to you, but there's no way they're going with me this week. They're not weapons at all. They're not weapons at all. But I was going to say the 823, I do have the broad nib, which is, I think I want to get the signature nib with the transparent barrel. I think I want to add that to my collection. And of course, I've got the Pilot Custom Urushi A23 and the Pilot Custom, the big one, which are on my bucket list. Eventually they'll get there. We shall see. And last but not least is this beautiful S20, which you've seen with this wooden barrel. Actually, I'm sorry, S30. You've seen the S20. This is the S30, but take a look at that. We're going to be reviewing this in detail eventually, but really, really nice. And it's got a retractable pipe. So this is the Pilot S30 in the wood finish. 0.05. There you go. And you know what I'm working on now? I got myself a bunch of rulers. I think you've seen that in other videos because we need rulers. And finally, I have a good ruler. And it's also easier to measure my pens, the size of my pens when I want to do a quick measurement. It's got some cork backing so they don't slip and slide. The next fanaticism that they have, the Japanese anyways, they have special... I don't know what you would call them, but reservoirs or special, where you put your leads in, okay? Lead keepers, I don't know, storage. It's little contraptions made out of all kinds of material where you just store your leads in them. So that's one thing. And then they have these fun erasers. I mean, you have erasers, most of them have erasers at the top, but you can get actually separate erasers, all kinds of colors and really, really nice. So we shall see. Maybe we shall entertain those as well. So there you have it. Those are my, some more successful than others, I got to tell you, but those are my weapons for next week. And I think some will find their way back into a box, and some of them will stick around. We will make a decision when the time comes. There you have it. Stay tuned for my next segment. For this final segment, which is YouTube reviews, what have I got for you? Well, here's what I propose. First of all, in terms of other YouTube reviewers, there's my friend MAJOHN. He has these wonderful reviews or videos on journaling, which are unique. And he's added one to his collection. He started to journal. He has a journal for what he reads, because he finds that he doesn't have a sharp recollection of what he's read. So it's an interesting way to use notebooks. I always find I have notebooks for everything. I have notebooks for the YouTube channel. I have notebooks that keeps track or tries to keep track of what inks I have in every pen. I have another notebook that keeps track of the inks and the paper that I've reviewed during my recaps, etc., etc., etc. So it's always fun because I have all these notebooks and I got to use them, right? So and that's an interesting. And I got to start journaling. Actually journaling. I found it to be a very depressive, a depressive activity because I find myself regurgitating all the negative things that have happened during a day or during a week, and I just don't want to revisit the negative. And it's the negative that kind of stick out, right? The positives, well, you have a routine and there's not much to say, right? Other than if there's a birthday, an event, or something exceptional happens, but it doesn't happen every day. So, regurgitating your daily activities becomes kind of, I don't know, it doesn't give me any joy or any therapy at all. So I think I'm going to start journaling about just fountain pens and paper and how pens, I enjoy them, or, that sort of thing, and philosophize over maybe philosophy of life, and maybe, I'm getting closer to retirement and what I plan to do. The journaling I do is kind of an active journaling and keeping track of things and to-do lists and ideas and all the rest of it. I mean, you're still journaling, but it's not literature, and it's not something that our kids can pick up maybe, or next generation can pick up from a shelf and say, oh, good, my grandfather did this day, So in any event, interesting. So I always welcome any new ideas that Hemingway Jones may have. Secondly, Doodlebud does a comparison between the titanium and the aluminum Gravitas Monster, and I think I've not seen that video yet. I'm going to, but I think it could be very, very educational for me because I find the aluminum one a little too slippery, and maybe he has some good things to say about the titanium, and we'll see. Maybe we'll buy another one. So there you have it in terms of other YouTube reviewers. In terms of my own reviews, well, you saw what happened this week. We have 2 reviews. I put one up on the InfiniGraph, that Kickstarter project. And secondly, I've done my first review of mechanical pencils, and we'll see how that does. Hopefully enough people will enjoy those videos that will make it worthwhile. And if I see that it doesn't give me any therapy, and there's no interest there, I may just drop it. We'll see. As I say in the video, we'll take it one day at a time, so to speak. That's it for me in terms of this segment, and that's it for this recap. Please enjoy your pens. I'd ask you to subscribe. I need some subscriptions. By the way, I reached 1 million views, which is, not bad since the start. But I've got to try to get to 10,000 subscribers. It's going to be difficult to do so between now and the end of the year. But please, if you have not subscribed, please do. It's always welcome. Thank you very much. Have a great week, and we'll see you all soon.